He wanted to run 2 plants, 2 crews. He gave us a choice. We could either work with him or work with Dave.
Many people are crazy about Gold Rush for the massive machines and glittering gold, but the real drama often happens when the cameras are off. The departure of Chris Doumitt, Parker Schnabel's most trusted foreman, was presented as a simple case of a veteran needing a break. The thing nobody tells you is that it was a brutal firing in everything but name.
Everything has to be cleaned in the gold room. I can't do that. I just can't.
Pushed to his absolute limit by an impossible goal, Chris was faced with a shocking choice that made his exit inevitable, sending a clear message that loyalty has its price. The 10,000-ounce tyranny. To put it mildly, the Klondike has a way of breaking even the strongest people. For Chris Doumitt, a man who had become the very definition of reliability on Gold Rush, Season 15 was a perfect storm. You see, this wasn't just another season of hard work, it was an all-out assault on the limits of human endurance, driven by Parker Schnabel's most audacious and, frankly, reckless goal yet. Parker didn't just want to mine gold, he wanted to mine an amount so colossal it sounded like a mistake. 10,000 ounces. That's over 600 pounds of pure gold worth nearly $20 million.
It's going to put a lot of stress on everybody, but it's the only hope I see for getting anywhere close to 10,000 ounces this season, that's for damn sure.
What many overlooked is that to hit a number that astronomical, you can't just work harder. You have to work at a pace that is fundamentally unsustainable. And the full weight of that impossible demand landed squarely on the shoulders of Chris Doumitt. The irony of gold mining is that for all the giant machines and mountains of moved earth, the entire multi-million-dollar enterprise hinges on the tiny, glittering specks recovered in the final, delicate stage. That last step was Chris's domain, the gold room. Under normal circumstances, managing the cleanup from 1 or even 2 wash plants is a meticulous and exhausting job. A small mistake, a moment of lost focus, could cost thousands of dollars in lost gold. But for this season, Parker, in his relentless pursuit of a legendary number, decided to run 3 wash plants simultaneously. There was Big Red, the reliable workhorse. There was Rock Monster, a beast in its own right. And then there was Slucifer, the massive main plant. 3 separate streams of gold-rich concentrates, all funneling down to one man. The workload instantly transformed from demanding to physically impossible. Imagine finishing a grueling 12-hour shift, every muscle in your body screaming, only to face the task of cleaning out the sluice boxes from 3 enormous machines.
We have the tank with the concentrate from the sluice box. It's in the gold room now.
This isn't just rinsing out some dirt, it's a painstaking, hours-long process of careful washing, screening, and panning to ensure not a single precious flake is lost. For Chris, a man in his 60s, this nonstop cycle was more than just a job, it was a physical ordeal. He was the guy who never complained, the one who just put his head down and got the work done season after season. But this time was different. You could see the toll it was taking. He was drowning. The pressure became so intense that for the first time in his long and storied career with Parker, he had to raise a white flag. It was either speak up or collapse. Something had to give. The most shocking fact is that the crew was stretched so thin across 3 sites that there was no one to spare. Pulling an operator off a dozer or a rock truck to help in the gold room was out of the question. Every single person was essential to feeding the 3 hungry wash plants. This left Chris isolated and facing an impossible task. In an act of desperation, he finally approached Parker and threw out a name. Tatiana Costa.
Tatiana, maybe.
She's like one of our top operators.
Yeah.
Mitch and Tyson are not going to be happy if Tatiana comes out of the field.
She was one of the best and most versatile equipment operators on the team, but she had 0 experience in the delicate, high-stakes art of gold recovery. It was a massive gamble. Proposing to take a top operator out of the field during a record-breaking push was a huge ask, one that Parker's other foremen, Mitch and Tyson, were bound to resist. But the alternative was watching Chris, the heart and soul of the cleanup operation, walk away for good. Parker, for all his single-minded ambition, knew he couldn't afford to lose Chris. The decision was made. Tatiana would be pulled from her machine and trained. Chris would finally get some help. But the damage was already done. The message, whether intended or not, was crystal clear. Parker's 10,000-ounce ambition was more important than the well-being of his most loyal man. This single, brutal season was the final straw, but the real reasons for his departure had been building for years. More than a minor. To truly understand the shockwave Chris Doumit's departure sent through the gold rush world, you have to understand who he was to the operation. He wasn't just another miner on the payroll, he was the quiet architect of Parker Schnabel's empire, the secret ingredient that turned a young kid's ambition into the most successful mining operation in the show's history. And you can see this everywhere if you look closely.
Just have to stay on top of it. If you get it running too fast, things just jam up too quick.
The most amazing part of his story? Chris Doumitt wasn't even a gold miner to begin with. He stumbled into this world completely by accident. He first appeared on the show as a carpenter, hired to build cabins for Todd Hoffman's original, often chaotic, crew. He was just a guy with a hammer, a saw, and a calm, no-nonsense attitude. But the Klondike has a way of pulling people in, and one thing led to another. Soon enough, he found himself knee-deep in the mud and the madness. When he made the pivotal switch to join Parker's fledgling team in Season 4, it was a match that would change the course of gold mining on television. Parker was the young, fiery prodigy with the big ideas and the boundless energy. But Chris was the steady hand, the voice of seasoned experience that grounded those wild ambitions in reality. His meticulous, almost surgical work in the gold room is directly responsible for Parker smashing records year after year. Let's look at the numbers. Season 5, over 2,500 ounces. Season 7, over 4,300 ounces. Season 8, a staggering 6,200 ounces. These figures, worth tens of millions of dollars, don't happen if you have someone sloppy or careless in the gold room. Chris ensured every possible flake was recovered, maximizing profit and turning a high-risk gamble into a finely tuned money-making machine. But his value went far beyond the numbers on a scale. What many overlooked is that Chris was the emotional glue that held the entire high-strung operation together. Gold mining is a pressure cooker. The hours are brutal, the weather is unforgiving, the equipment is constantly breaking, and the boss is a young man demanding perfection.
We're in a situation where there's a ton of work and unrealistic expectations from a boss that likes to have unrealistic expectations.
In that environment, tempers flare and morale can plummet. Chris, with his easygoing humor and quiet wisdom, was the crew's anchor. He knew how to diffuse a tense situation with a quick joke, and he was the one everyone, including Parker himself, could turn to for advice or a moment of calm. He was more than a foreman. He was a mentor, a father figure, and the team's unofficial therapist. Over the years, his role evolved into one of Parker's most trusted advisors. Parker relied on his judgment for everything from assessing the quality of pay dirt to managing the delicate egos of the crew. Chris wasn't just an employee, he was a foundational piece of the entire Schnabel legacy. So when Parker set the almost ludicrous goal of running 3 wash plants, it was Chris who was expected to bear the brunt of that decision. His departure wasn't like losing a good rock truck driver, it was like pulling the cornerstone out of a building. The entire structure was suddenly at risk. He went from being an outsider with zero experience to one of the most respected and indispensable figures in the industry. But this transformation hit a growing problem. The kid who couldn't stop. You can't understand the pressure that broke Chris Doumitt without understanding the relentless machine that created it. Parker Schnabel himself. Parker isn't just a gold miner, he's a phenomenon, a product of the Alaskan wilderness forged with an insatiable ambition.
Damien's got the Indian River down at Ken and Stewart's very close. He's just about ready to sluice now, so need to get Bob down there and fired up. It should be around 900 ounces in 3 weeks.
Born in the mid-90s in Haines, Alaska, he was practically raised with gold dust under his fingernails. His grandfather, the legendary John Schnabel, ran the Big Nugget mine, and while other kids were playing video games, Parker was mastering the controls of dozers and excavators. The thing is, he was never just playing around. He was learning the family business from the ground up. By the time he was a teenager, he was already an old pro, using his college fund to start his own operation instead of heading to a university. He took over the family mine at just 16, commanding a crew of grown men. But being on television with the family wasn't enough. In a move that shocked everyone, he left the security of his grandfather's mine, went to the Yukon, leased his own ground, and bet everything on himself. It was a massive gamble that paid off spectacularly. In his first solo season, he pulled over 1,000 ounces of gold out of the frozen ground, instantly becoming a legend. From that moment, his trajectory has been a straight line pointing skyward. His gold totals grew exponentially each season, leaving his rivals in the dust. He wasn't just mining, he was innovating, constantly pushing for bigger machines, more efficient processes, and higher yields. This relentless drive made him a multimillionaire before he was even 30 years old. But that same drive has a dark side. Parker's ambition is a furnace that never cools. Hitting a record isn't a moment for celebration. For him, it's just the new baseline that must be shattered the following year.
Well, that's not good. This is making me think, oh, the Indian River wasn't so bad.
This creates an environment of unending, escalating pressure. There is no good enough. This single-minded obsession has demonstrably taken a toll on his personal life. His public relationship with Ashley Ewell, who even appeared on the show, fell apart because, by his own admission, he couldn't balance the all-consuming demands of mining with a relationship. For Parker, the gold always comes first. This is the mindset that led to the 10,000-ounce goal. To Parker, it wasn't an insane, crew-breaking target, it was simply the next logical step on his path to becoming the greatest miner of all time. He is so intensely focused on the summit that he often fails to see the strain on the people he's relying on to get him there. People like Chris Doumitt, who had given him over a decade of unwavering loyalty and back-breaking work. It's a classic case of a leader who is brilliant at strategy but can be blind to the human cost of his own ambition. The decision to run 3 plants wasn't a team decision, it was a Parker Schnabel decision, and the crew was expected to make it happen, no matter the personal toll. The shocking truth is, Chris's departure wasn't just about one tough season. It was the inevitable result of this fundamental clash. A question of respect. So did Chris Doumitt really leave the most successful gold mining operation on television just because he was tired? The simple answer is no. The real reason is far more complex and frankly more human. It wasn't one single event, it wasn't just the 10,000-ounce goal or the pressure of running 3 plants, it was the crushing cumulative weight of everything combined. A slow burn of disrespect and exploitation that finally reached its flashpoint. Let's connect the dots the show never explicitly links. For years, Chris was the quiet professional, the bedrock of the crew. He was instrumental in Parker's journey from a promising kid to a gold mining titan, responsible for cleanly recovering well over 50,000 ounces of gold, an amount worth a staggering $300 million at today's prices.
Final total was
7,381.
And that is unreal. Sets us up so well for the next few years.
He was a key architect in building an empire. Yet when Parker decided to chase his most extreme goal, it was Chris who was placed in an impossible, physically punishing position. The thing nobody tells you is what this feels like. After a decade of loyalty, of being the guy who solves the problems and keeps the peace, Chris was treated not as a valued partner but as a component. A valuable piece of equipment, sure, but one that could be run into the ground until it broke. The decision to bring in Tatiana wasn't a reward for Chris's years of service. It was a desperate patch on a problem that Parker's own ambition had created. For a man like Chris, who operates on principles of loyalty and mutual respect, that had to feel like a profound betrayal. It sent a clear message. The goal is all that matters, not the people who achieve it. This wasn't a snap decision. This was years of accumulated exhaustion. It was the story of a man in his 60s looking at his future and asking, is this worth it? Is another season of unrelenting stress, of chasing another impossible number for someone else's legacy, worth sacrificing his health, his time with his family, and his peace of mind? The shocking truth is that Chris Doumitt's departure was an act of self-preservation. He chose himself over the gold. He chose to step away from the madness before it consumed him completely. He had nothing left to prove. He had helped build the empire and had seen it reach heights no one thought possible. And then he decided he was done. It wasn't about quitting. It was about recognizing that no amount of gold is worth your own well-being. It's a decision most of us can understand, choosing a quiet life and a sense of respect over a chaotic one, even if it means walking away from a mountain of gold. Was Parker's relentless ambition the key to his success, or a fatal flaw that cost him his most loyal man? Let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold stories from the goldfields.